All right, welcome to the Bike Guild, and today we're going to write a lightweight game design document for our zombie under the bed insect fighting text adventure game. So when last we left off, we had come up with a random game. In fact, it was the first run of our randomizer where the protagonist are zombies. So you're going to play as a zombie. The antagonist is an insect or insects. The environment is under a bed or under the bed. The theme is urban, which matches being under the bed. So you could be like in a city, in an apartment. And the special weapon is a healing ray, which works really well with the zombie part. So that's what we're going to be designing today. What we're going to do is we're going to write a GDD, but we're specifically going to try and do a one-page GDD. Now, when designing a game, you might be tempted to just start writing code, especially because you're trying to be a software engineer. But usually that resolves in getting nothing done, right? You'll start writing some code, you'll start with some ideas, and you end up in this cycle of build, 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 throw away, build, 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 throw away, try things, throw away, throw away. And it's not a progressive cycle. It is very much just a spiral into nothingness. And usually people just end up giving up and being never really publishing a game. The same is true, like if you've ever done writing, a lot of people write by the seat of their pants and then their novel sits in a drawer, actually more likely sits on their file system, never getting published, never being sent off to a publisher. So we want to plan. We want to have a plan and we want to execute on that plan. But we also want to be careful about how heavy our plan is, because we could sit and write a 200-page game design document, but that wouldn't get us a game. The phrase that we used to use in video games is you don't ship a design document, you ship a game. One of my former coworkers, Rex Dixon, look him up if you want to see how badass he is, used to tell me a story, or told me a story about how back in the day, they would write a game design Bible, essentially. So it'd be the entire game in document format. This is before they'd written any code, before they'd done any tests. And they'd basically write this beautiful novel of how to build the game, of what the features would be and the specs and everything. And the problem was that was before they even ran it by engineering. And so they'd eventually hand it off to engineering, and engineering would take a cleaver and be like, ha 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 ha, poof, poof, poof. And you end up with these giant edited, not what you expected document, and you probably don't even build that right at the end of the design process and the development process. A lot of game companies moved over to things with like X slices, vertical slices. The idea being you build small portions of the game, test them to see if they're fun, throw them out, hopefully, if they're not fun, and kind of spiral towards getting something where you understand the bounds of, is this fun, is this not fun, is this doable, is it not doable within the technology you're building, and then go into a production phase where you make more and more and more and more of it, now that you've kind of found the pattern, to get to a shipped product. When we're looking at something like a personal project, we want to be very careful with just ideating the entire time. So I like to use one-pagers. A one-pager is exactly what it sounds like. It's about one page. It doesn't have to be strictly one page. That summarizes what we're attempting to do with some good ideas. And then from there, what we can do is we take that approach and we plan out what technology we need, what major technical decisions we have to make, and then we execute on them and kind of iteratively test and hopefully get to something. Part of this is this adventure I'm building. We want to keep the scope small because I'd like to get it done in a reasonable amount of time. Games can take years to build. I don't want to take years to build this. I'd like to take hours, measurable hours. So without further ado, the way we are going to do this, is we are going to make our game design document live on GitHub for simplicity's sake. And I'm going to start with this all being private, and then we'll eventually make it a public repo. For now, I have a couple of orgs. So I have this Bike Guild organization on GitHub that I'm going to use for creating my games repository. And this is where all the code is going to reside, but I'm also going to put all the documentation in here as well as we build it and do all the project management as we go through the process. That way there's one central location and I keep it nice and simple. And I can do most of it from VS Code, which is great, or from the GitHub UI. So we're going to go to new, and we're going to create this repo. So we need some name that is acceptable. This is our zombie adventure game. Now, you might think Andrew's going to come up with this brilliant, beautiful name for it. No, I'm punting on that. We're going to call it Zombie Adventure Game. A game where you play as a zombie under a bed. Nice and simple. Now, we'd like a README file. We'd like a git ignore. We're going to choose a license. It's going to be MIT, which is a very, very permissive license. A template. I wonder if there's just a JavaScript one. No. Is there a Node one? Yes. Great. I can use Node. Create repo. Nice. Simple. So now we have our repo. Look at that. Look how easy that was. We have stuff like a license and a git ignore and a readme. Nothing really super great. We're going to modify our readme real quick. Oh, look how not big this is. I know. All right, that should be readable. Zombie adventure game. Zombie adventure game. Looks good to me. All right. Fix title case. Commit directly, which will upset a whole bunch of people. What we're going to do is we're going to pull this down and we're going to edit it in VS Code. I'm going to copy the SSH URL. Go to VS Code, which I have open here. And we are going to do a git clone of that address. Let me zoom in a bit. All right, and we can see Zombie Adventure Game is here now. And we're going to open this. Inside of VS Code. It has not much in it right now. It has that MIT license, the README, and the git ignore. So we're going to work from the README, which I haven't installed a markdown plugins here. I'm like lax on the plugins because I don't really do dev on this computer, but that's okay. We're going to create a new file and we're going to call it gd.md. This is our game design document. And now the question is, what goes into this game design document? Do I have a... No, I don't have any markdown preview. While we're here, let's do this. Markdown. All you need to write markdown. Keyboard shortcuts, table content, auto preview, and more. Sure. Install. It's installed. I don't think this is the one that I've used before. So I don't know how to preview. Let's see. Print markdown, GitHub. Yeah, you get all of the warts, right? You're not just... Let's see. Preview. All right. Override. Open preview. Toggle open preview. Key binding toggle preview, which means you can close preview using the same key binding. Oh, okay. Does this mean I can just do like preview? Open preview to side. Cool. That worked. Sure. Never used this plugin before. I use a different one usually. All right. Our game design document. So the question is, what do we need here? Well, we're going to fill in some of this stuff. So I'm going to leave placeholders, but basically we want like our tagline here. This is going to be something cool. I really want this italicized. Where we want like a tagline here that's cool. And you can think of it as your elevator pitch. If you had a quick moment in an elevator to pitch the game to somebody, what would you say? Like one sentence about it, essentially. From there, we are going to have our design overview. In our design overview, we're basically going to have a paragraph describing the game. So it takes that pitch and elaborates on it just a little bit, essentially saying like kind of what game is it going to be, what are the objectives, things of that nature. That way you have a little bit more, but again, not too much. Next, we're going to have our pillars of design. Real quick about this design document. This is how I do my design documents. This is how I used to teach writing design documents. Again, one-page design documents, lightweight design documents. And the reason I did it this way is that I was not teaching people to design games. I was teaching people to code games. And so I wanted something easy for them to do. So if you really want to be a game designer, none of this is for you. Go find, there's definitely better documentation of how to write a more professional GDD. This GDD is really for us as engineers who just want to have something to work from. Pillars of design essentially are going to be what are like key tenets for how we define what's fun in the game, for you know, like the core aspects of the game that are interesting and engaging. And core mechanics usually. So the pillars of design are things like X takes precedence over Y. They're almost like a mantra or a manifesto dictating how we will go and design the game, how we'll decide to do one thing over another. The mechanics themselves are the features of the game that we're going to build to satisfy those pillars of design. And now, if this were like a real, let's fill this out. These are like manifesto. Y and really the Y. And then this is the how. So this is again not how you design this if you're a professional game designer. It's just for us as engineers to have a thing to work from. In the real world, we're not just going to do this. We're also going to usually in a pitch document, because usually before you build out a GDD, if you're going to pitch a game to publishers or to VC for games, it's a thing, then, or a fund, you're usually going to go and talk about things like the demographic, the market, market fit, monetization, etc. We don't care about any of that for this. We need enough to build our cool tech stuff. All right, so what is our game again? Right, Zombies Under the Bed. Yeah, so play as a, I'm ready for this? I've been thinking about this just a little bit. Play as a zombie hand. Escaping a Manhattan apartment. Survive under the bed until nightfall to make your escape. While competing against insects to gather the necessary items for survival. Now, that's more than a sentence. That's me just like thinking on the fly. We can throw this in design review. In the pitch side, you can say something like, I don't know. This is hard to come up with on the fly. Zombie survival game. A game where you survive a day as a zombie hand under a teenager's bed, facing ever in, yeah, a text adventure game where you survive a day as a zombie hand under a teenager's bed. Boonk, boonk. In a Manhattan apartment. Sure. Plays a zombie hand escaping a Manhattan apartment. Survive under the bed until nightfall to make your escape while competing against insects to gather the necessary items for survival. For survival in that moment, and also to actually escape. We'll figure out some way to make that interesting. So, yeah. Usually you'd spend a lot of time on this. I'm trying not to spend a lot of time on this. So we just want something, and then we can actually go and build it. Like, again, I said this isn't necessarily going to be fun. I'm going to start off with some core mechanics. I'm going to work in not necessarily the best order possible. I just have ideas, and I'd like those ideas to be things. Okay, so collect items. Collect and use items. Fight insects. We know these are requirements, right? Like, it's reality. And explore under the bed. And last but not least, escape the room. I don't know. We might get rid of this section just because I don't really want to spend too much time kind of making this fun or thinking about what would be fun, and just get a nice list of reasonable features. So collect and use items is nice. Items are scattered throughout the map. Randomized? Question mark. Do we have time for that? We're going to start with non-random, and then we can always add random in. That's important because good randomization is hard. Good randomization is really hard. All right, so items are scattered throughout the map. Some items can be combined. Why not? Why not? This could be cut. Let's add our juice all in, and we can drain the juice if the juice is too much for us to handle. All right, items are scattered throughout the map. Some items can be combined. Some items are useful for fighting. Some items are useful for escape. Fight insects. This needs to be simple. I'm thinking just like a pure mechanic of like use weapon. Is weapon good enough? Question mark? Can you die in this game? This is what happens if you die. You're a zombie. So, can you die? And right now I'm just writing questions because I don't have the answer, and I don't care so much. I'm thinking you can't die. So let's just say no death. And if you die, there's a penalty. I don't know what. Explore under the bed. We're going to have distinct segments of the bed. We have distinct segments of the bed. This is kind of a hallmark of text adventures, the idea that you can move from space to space, and then there's descriptions of the spaces. There might be puzzles in the spaces. There might be locked states under it. Some areas are locked, e.g. there is a, what are they called? Not a mess kit. Huh. Oh, how long has it been since I was in middle school? A lunchbox. Lunchbox. And you need to figure out how to open it. Maybe need correct item. Fine. Yeah. This begs the question, like, how do we visualize this? We'll figure it out. It's fine. Escape the room. After a timer expires, you face a series of events, making choices with what you have, and you either escape or do not. E.g., go for a window, go for a door. Like giant insect boss? I don't know. This is a terrible game design document. All right, so I think that's going to be enough for now in terms of our game design document. So real quick, it's a terrible game design document. It's a horrible game. If you showed me this in class, I would yell at you. But I'm trying not to spend any time on it. I might, when not recording, think about this and iterate on it. And if I do, then we'll obviously look at it. And as we're going through, we'll make some modifications to this. So this is a basic GDD. So we're going to build a text adventure game where you survive. Oopsies. Where you all right. A text adventure game where you survive a day as a zombie hand. Zombie hand. I really want it to be a zombie hand. I just feel like that, like. I'm just excited for that zombie hand moving everywhere. So sorry, yeah. A text adventure game where you survive a day as a zombie hand under a teenager's bed in Manhattan apartment. Make it to the night. And then we want to make it to the night in order to escape. So play as a zombie hand escaping Manhattan apartment. You start off in a teenager's bedroom under the bed. You got here. We need like an origin story. We need origin story. I'm thinking maybe he accidentally brought you home. Accidentally brought you home from morbidity. Graveyard sounds pretty morbid to me. From insert here. Survive under the bed until nightfall to make your escape while competing against insects to gather necessary items for survival. At nightfall, face a series of simple challenges with what you have collected in terms of knowledge and items to escape the great outdoors. Cool. Pillage of design, getting rid of this for now because we want to keep it simple. Cormax, collect new items, fight insects, explore under the bed, escape the room. Sounds good to me. What are we going to do with this now? Zombie adventure game. We're going to commit it directly to main, and everybody's going to despise me for it, and that's fine for now. Normally, I'll talk about feature branches when we actually start writing code and why feature branches are so important, but I'm the only person working on this right now, and I just want to get it up so it can reside there. So what we're going to do is we'll commit it directly to main once I do this. Bam, we have to link to it. All right, look at this. We have a readme, energy get, add, status, commit, add, GDD. Nice and simple. Git push origin main. Those are the git push sound effects. Now, if we go to here and hit refresh, we have our game design document. We click through, and here is our terrible, abysmal one-pager. Don't hate me for this. Oh, it is what it is. It's cool. No one, I told you at the beginning, this wasn't necessarily going to be a fun game. Okay, and that's it for our lightweight game design document. I hope you enjoyed that process. And if you are going to design a game, please spend more than the amount of time that I spent designing my game. I just wanted something that we can complete. And in fact, when I go and code this, there's a good chance this is not going to be a fun game. To be very clear, it's going to be limited in scope. I'm more interested in the coding, the programming, showing you all the interesting coding and programming than going and building something absolutely fun and robust. And I'll make it open source, so if you want to go and fix all of my mistakes and make this the most fun game in the universe, you will be able to, and I will thank you for it. So if you have ideas for the game, feel free to, comment below anything you think would make a good pillar, anything you think would make a good feature, items that you think would be super badass to have. Obviously, we need to have that healing ray in there, and I have ideas for it. I just haven't really fleshed them out beyond, basic shower ideas. So comment below, add all your thoughts, because I'm interested to see what other people think would be interesting and compelling features. Do consider the fact that I am going to try and do this in as few sessions as possible of coding, meaning it's just not months of development here. This is shoestring budget. We don't even have graphics, okay? We have text, and that's just the way I like it. All right, that's it for the Bike Guild. Thanks for watching.